This work changed my life. I had no idea. Brainwaves are just stuck in this excitable state, and that was fueling my anxiety. Okay. Thinking is one of the biggest barriers to healing, not the only barrier. Before we jump into thinking, we'll kind of address in the steps to heal, we're talking about how to think less. We're gonna get exactly to the root of it and how to address it. Before we do, I just want you to be aware of the most common barriers and mistakes that keep people stuck. I've seen this over and over again in the classes I've taught in my different programs. If you can be aware of these barriers, then you'll know exactly how what you're doing might be fueling anxiety. And again, the more you understand it, the knowledge is the cure. If you can see how you're fueling anxiety, how you're interacting with it in a way that's perpetuating it, and you can break free, okay? We're going to go over the barriers and then we'll address exactly what to do. The first one, overthinking, we just touched on it. An overactive mind causes the body to be stuck in a state of hypervigilance. As long as the brain remains in this state, it'll believe there's a threat, right? Keeping the nervous system stuck in fight or flight. The second barrier, a victim mindset. This is often something that we adopt totally unconsciously, okay? Believing anxiety is the enemy or it's just some annoying thing that's happening to us. Anxiety does not just happen to us. It's not there to just ruin our day, okay? In reality, it is a sign that both your brain and body are working exactly as they're supposed to, right? They are protecting you. If you remember from above, anxiety is a protective mechanism, meaning your brain and body believe anxiety is somehow keeping you safe. So to overcome it, we have to know what anxiety is trying to protect you from. Okay, we talked about how anxiety starts in our childhood typically, even if you didn't feel anxious back then. Most chronic adulthood anxiety is rooted in unresolved childhood trauma and emotional wounds. Years of stress and nervous system dysregulation accumulate. And then at some point, what started as just a dysregulated nervous system and the stored alarm in the body turned into the racing mind, the fear-based thinking, the constantly worrying. And a huge part of why this happened is because worry feels protective. It offers you a false sense of control and certainty. In the past, when you've worried, most of what you've worried about never happened. So your brain made the connection between worry and somehow keeping you safe. And over time, it became a coping strategy. A strategy that has kept you distracted from the deeper emotional pain. Okay? When worry becomes automatic, an unconscious program running in the background, stuck in this state. And this is why it's so important to understand. You don't just want your anxiety to go away. You want to know exactly what it's trying to do for you. Okay, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And if you continue to see anxiety as the enemy and fight against it, you'll perpetuate it. We have to be able to shift from being annoyed and trying to make it go away to partnering with our brilliant bodies and understanding they're not broken. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Anxiety is not a mistake. I know it doesn't feel good, but it is not a mistake. It is a sign that there is deeper understanding and healing that needs to take place. If you want to heal, that's the work that needs to be done. Okay, the third barrier, being afraid of anxiety or letting it scare you. I just asked a little bit ago, how many of you are afraid of your anxiety? You might notice it comes up. For some of you, it's terrifying and you work yourself into a full-blown panic attack. Okay, as long as we respond to our anxiety with fear or any other chronic health issue that you have, as long as we respond with fear, we will keep it going. Fear and overthinking are the two main fuel sources for all chronic symptoms. including anxiety. Okay, this is why healing is going to require you to be able to notice your anxiety or any other chronic symptom that you're trying to overcome without automatically reacting with fear. Okay, this is how we break the cycle, the one that you have been stuck in for so long. And I want you to know too, fear comes in many forms. It's not just being afraid of anxiety, the way that it feels in your body or another symptom. Fear is any action taken to avoid or fix it. Fear is also the act of focusing on it, overthinking, analyzing it. Basically, if anxiety, if it gets your attention, you're feeling it. Okay, and this is how every single mind-body syndrome works. It's a cycle. Symptom, anxiety in this case, fear in the form of thoughts or actions causes more symptoms. I cannot overstate how important it is that you understand this loop. It will literally change your life. Because once you fully understand it, you have the power to remove what's fueling your anxiety and any other chronic health issue. I have seen people finally understand this loop, maybe not the first time they heard it, maybe not the second time, but I've seen this click for people. And within days, their chronic symptoms that they've wrestled with for years, some of them decades, just like me, are gone. When you remove what fuels chronic symptoms, they can dissolve very, very quickly. If you're here with anxiety, you are responding to it in a way that is fueling it. If your anxiety scares you or forces you to take action or triggers you to go into fix-it mode, some type of fixing, you are reinforcing the belief that it's dangerous and that it's a threat to you, which is what is keeping you in the loop. If you can understand this loop, you can break free. There are people, not just in my community, but in mind-body communities all over the world that I'm connected to that are putting this brain science together, understanding this loop, learning how to interact differently with their anxiety and their chronic health issues, and overcoming them quickly. And severe chronic health issues, back pain that has left people bedridden for years, multiple failed back surgeries. You know, for me, my gut issues, once I understood that all of my trying to fix and solve and the next protocol and must have parasites and oh, must be another food sensitivity or another, all of that was perpetuating it. And when I stopped doing that, not only was I able to overcome anxiety in a couple of short weeks, but this is how I overcame over 15 severe chronic health issues that I wrestled with and worked with some of the top practitioners out there for years, spent over $100,000 trying to figure these health issues out, all to realize healing comes down to balancing the nervous system. Healing the nervous system comes down to creating safety. Fixing symptoms sends a danger signal to the brain and nervous system and perpetuates the very symptom you are trying so hard to overcome. If you can understand this loop, you can break free. Okay? The fourth barrier, resisting anxiety. It's natural to feel frustrated by your anxiety. Maybe you're thinking like, oh, not this again. Like I thought it was gone. It was a little bit better and now it's back and just want to make it go away. Any form of resistance will fuel it. What you resist persists. And I know how frustrating it is. Trust me, I lived with it for years. Okay. Start to become aware of how you're resisting it. Resistance can show up in a lot of different ways. It can just be a simple thought as like, oh, I don't want to feel this way. I'm supposed to be calm. Anxiety is bad, right? Labeling. And every time you meet anxiety with resistance, tension, frustration, it will only intensify it, right? You picture trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you try to push it down, the more forcefully it's going to pop back up in your face. The same thing goes for anxiety. The more you resist, the stronger it feels. The harder you try to make it go away and fix it, to not have those thoughts, the more you're fueling it. You have to learn how to move out of resistance and allow it to be there, which we'll get into, in order for your brain to feel safe and for the volume on your anxiety to go down and be completely turned off. The fifth barrier, trying to fix anxiety. You can insert anxiety, you can insert your gut issues, your sleep issues. Again, it's all the same. Similar to what we talked about above, any action taken with the goal of trying to make anxiety or any chronic symptom go away will only reinforce it. Can you see why so many people get stuck with mind-body syndromes, including anxiety? Who doesn't want their bothersome symptoms to go away? If you meditate to feel calm, if you do breathing exercises to get rid of your anxiety, if you journal to, fix how you're feeling, you are still stuck in a cycle of fixing and resistance. I used to make fixing anxiety a full-time job. I would have done anything to make it go away, to calm myself. I was always doing all the things, hoping for relief. But all of it came from a place of avoidance, fear, desperation. And the more I tried to get rid of my anxiety, the more power I unknowingly gave to it. Make sure you understand this. If your motivation for change is driven by fear and avoidance or trying to make symptoms go away, you will only reinforce the belief that you're not safe, which is going to lead to more threat response and more symptoms. I want to give you a really tangible example of this. So you end up with anxiety. It's debilitating. It's frustrating. It's out of control. It's compromising the quality of your life. So you see a doctor. You don't want to go on medication. So you end up seeing, a root cause doctor, maybe a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor. And they're helping you connect your mental health to your gut health. There's definitely a connection there. Okay, we know that gut inflammation and high histamine levels, all of those things can influence what's happening in the mind. So they encourage you to partake in some type of gut healing protocol. But what you don't realize is that this approach is actually fueling the anxiety you're trying to heal. Okay, this was my experience, and it's the same pattern that I've seen in thousands of people that I've coached all over the world. And until you see this, you'll keep repeating the very cycle that is causing what you're trying to overcome. Yes, gut health can impact anxiety. Yes, some of these things we see in our blood work need to be dealt with and can help to improve our chronic symptoms. But what's driving those symptoms is not typically what you're seeing in your labs. Almost all chronic health issues, anxiety being at the top of the list, is caused by a nervous system that's stuck in a state of alarm. Your body is just reflecting this state. And when you're stuck in this cycle of fixing, you're just reinforcing the perceived state of danger. keeping the nervous system stuck in survival. The only way to heal, again, is to understand how your brain operates and to shift out of these fear-driven cycles that are keeping you stuck. A lot of you don't know my story, but I spent over a decade with these chronic health issues thinking, okay, if I have these gut issues, then there's something going on with my gut. So I saw some of the leading practitioners in the world. Yes, Kate, you have parasites. There's food sensitivities. There's bacterial overgrowth. There's candida. There's histamine issue. Yes, that's all happening. It must be the cause of your gut issues. So you hyper focus on all the fixing. You start removing foods and you're eating the cleanest diet and you're dialing everything in. I had never had so many gut issues in my life. When I was doing all of the, whether it was breathing or all of the anxiety calming technique, I'd never had such bad anxiety in my life. Because everything I did was done from a place of fixing and wanting my symptoms to go away. And until you change why you're doing things, your body will reflect that state of fear. Okay, healing happens when we shift from trying to fix to simply allowing. And I know that sounds so counterintuitive. Like, you just want me to allow my anxiety to be there. When you no longer react to your anxiety with fear, you have removed the fuel source. If you continue to react to anxiety in a way that, causes you to want to fix it and make it go away, you will fuel it. When I look back on my journey, I was the sickest and most symptomatic I had ever been when I was literally doing everything just perfectly. And when you understand the brain science, it's very clear why this happens. But once I did and I understood that, I was able to just let go, and my body finally felt safe again. My symptoms faded. People on Instagram, Kate, there's no way your chronic gut issues were gone within weeks. There's no way you lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks. I don't make this stuff up. When you move out of fight or flight and your brain and body feel safe, healing can happen insanely quickly. People are reversing stage 4 cancer doing this work. People are reversing 10 years of severe back pain. Maybe I've worked with people with, 3 failed surgeries, and within weeks. While the goal is not to heal quickly, it can happen really quickly when the brain and body finally feel safe and you can move out of resistance, out of fixing mode. The moment you stop resisting, then you can just truly surrender is the moment your nervous system starts to feel safe. And now your body no longer has to scream for your attention through symptoms to finally be heard. Okay, healing is not about controlling the process. It's about understanding the brain science and creating conditions for healing to unfold naturally. When you stop chasing relief and start trusting your body and partnering with it, you'll give yourself the space to actually experience the healing that you are so desperately seeking. Okay, when we become aware of these barriers and we really understand this stuff and how we are fueling our anxiety, this is the difference between whether you can heal or not. If you're here with anxiety, I can almost guarantee there's some level of fear, whether it's conscious or unconscious, running the show. This is just how it works. But healing starts when you bring what was unconscious to you, not understanding how you're feeling your anxiety or your chronic symptoms, into your conscious awareness. One of my favorite quotes of all time: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Anxiety does not have to be your fate. We just have to understand how to interact with it in a way that doesn't fuel it.